Good afternoon, everybody. Tyler at the REDX. We've got some amazing stuff that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about bank-owned properties, short sales, foreclosures, forbearance, and all while living a normal life while you do it. So, Christina Griffin in Florida, Tampa, Florida. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Now, you and I had a chance to talk prior to the show, and you shared your story with me a little bit. And I would love for you to take a couple of minutes and reshare with our viewers, because I think what's going to happen is they're going to recognize that all of the success that you've achieved, which is tremendous, and we'll talk about that, it has all been done while facing a lot of the same trials or even more trials and adversity that maybe some people face in their life. I mean, I think what's going to happen is people on this podcast are going to go, oh man, real life happens to everybody, even the people who are just, top agents in the market. And so could you share your story a few minutes with us to bring us up to speed to how you got to where you are?
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me. Hi, everyone. My name's Christina Griffin. I'm a mom of three. I am a team leader of a large team in the middle Florida market. We cover about 8 different counties, and we're based out of the Tampa area. I have been through absolutely everything. And I'll share with you, I'd say the condensed version. I'm also a MAPS coach and part of Keller Williams. And so here goes. So I'll be honest with you, COVID's been a blessing for me, and I'll share with you why. But first and foremost, going back in time, when I was 8, I was abused by an uncle while my mom was dying of the same cancer I went through. My mom died when I was 9 years old of cancer. 9 years later, my dad died in a boating accident. 9 years after that, my sister got killed in a drunk driving accident. I was married at 21. When my dad died, when I was 18, I had a decision to take custody of my sister, who was 16 years old, or have her go live with my grandmother. So as soon as my dad died, I made the decision to take custody of my sister and immediately forego the scholarships that I had and go straight into real estate. So at 18 years old, I was managing a 650 unit apartment community, doing full lease up and renovation of the entire complex. At 21, I got pregnant with my first child, got my real estate license, and went into general real estate. So I was blessed to join a small company who was a local real estate investor and learn everything from him. And quickly, he actually told me to not answer the phone, only answer the phones and give him the messages. Within about a month, I sold all of his houses and got really great at finding properties for him. So during that whole time frame, on my mom dying, I gained, I believe I was about 250, 300 pounds at 20 years old. And during that time, I still did whatever it took to get up each and every day to do the things for my family. So 21, had my first child, got up to about 350 pounds, was really, really great at finding property and analyzing data and thinking outside of the box. I joined investor groups, rented large buses, had investors that would go on these buses to local REO properties, have contractors there, walk them through, and I'd have 20 offers immediately. So immediately I started in that niche. A lot of that was who I joined. So during that time frame, I sold hundreds of properties. I flipped hundreds of properties from about the time I was 21 until the time I was, I'd say, about 24. Then I had my second son, went through a really bad divorce, met the love of my life, who was actually my personal trainer, and I lost a little over 100 pounds. And the more weight I lost, the better I got with confidence and being in front of people. So it was definitely a trial, and it was getting healthier because I had those two awesome kids, and I wanted to do whatever it took for them. My mom and dad were already deceased, and my goal was to become the healthiest version of myself and show up every day for my kids because no one else was going to. I was already divorced at the time. My love of my life got shipped to Iraq for a year. We lost everything, rebuilt, and I got remarried. We are, happily crazy in love still. So I did good. Now during that time frame, I sold hundreds of houses, and when he got home from Iraq, myself and the small company, we split. I outgrew it. A lot of the REOs and the bank-owned properties that I sold to the investors in the downturn, the hard money companies and the subprime companies started taking them back as bank foreclosures. So in 2007, the end of it, my sister got killed in a drunk driving accident. I hit rock bottom. However, I still had to get up each and every day and take care of my two kids. And I joined a bigger company, more support. They immediately asked me if I wanted to be part of a space in their REO department. And I took it, space nobody wanted, sold several hundred homes that first year. So I had two kids, newly married. My sister died. My mom and dad were already deceased. And it was one of those time frames. I'd say that it was hard to get up each and every day. My weight started coming back. And however, I was selling hundreds of homes a year. So as the market changed and I grew in REO, at points between 2008 and 2013, I had 300 to 400 listings. So a lot of what changed for me was I wanted another child, and that other child I was told I couldn't have. The doctors found out I had the same cancer that my mom died of, and I was stubborn and didn't want to give up. I'd say a few weeks later, one of my asset management companies asked me to go check out this coaching program that they were affiliated with, and it changed my world. So here I am fighting cancer, two kids, and hundreds of listings. I did not even know what a CRM was. So in 2013, I had already sold thousands of homes. I didn't know what a CRM was. I didn't have buyer's agents. I had one assistant, and I was doing everything wrong. So I walked out of that coaching program, hired a coach right away, and I said I was going to do whatever it took to regain my business. And in return, I also regained my health. And a few months later, I did have a miscarriage. However, a month later, after I decided to go ahead and give up and have a hysterectomy, at the pre-op appointment, they found out I was pregnant again. And I have a 5-year-old miracle baby boy. And so, I guess I'd say the moral of the story is if your why is bigger than the problem, no matter what, you can get up and you can do whatever it takes. So I just kept surrounding myself through this coaching program with people that thought bigger, that did more, and I wanted more. So I started a team, did not know about systems or models, but I followed what the coaching program told me. And I had quickly, due to all of the REO listings I had, lots of leads, lots of opportunity, and grew a very large team. So I would say we kept growing. I still wasn't profitable. And I joined the company I'm with now to learn how to run a business and run a profitable business. I've always been great at selling hundreds of homes, creating lots of opportunity, attracting people. But there's so much more to it. Consistency, culture, having mission, vision, values, being around people that believe the same thing as you. So, through all of that, I also, right before I joined my company, I got gastric sleeve because the doctor told me you need to lose a lot of weight or the cancer could come back. So I did. And I today am down maybe about 200 pounds. I said also COVID is a blessing. So in all of that, I'm crazy in love. I've got two amazing teenagers, a 5-year-old, business. Our staff has doubled in size, growing. We're running an MREA model team. I created this amazing group course, but I have created more discipline and more structure in my life than I've ever had. And my marriage is stronger than ever. So during COVID, I get up at 4:00 in the morning. I have an hour of devotional with myself and time with me. And then from 5 to about 6:30, my husband and I walk and exercise and spend time together. So our life has gotten better because it's allowed our family to have time to connect. And in return, as I've gotten stronger, my business has gotten stronger. So through all of that, and I've been through so much, it's just when you surround yourself around the right support, you can really overcome and get through anything. And you just have to really know why you get up each and every day. So anyway, that was the really short version. So,
well, and it's incredible, right? I mean, to be able to accomplish, I love the part where you go, I didn't even know what a CRM was. Like I had 300 listings and didn't know what a CRM was. like it's incredible.
No, now I have one with 80,000 contacts in it. Mm-hmm.
It's see, that's amazing. I mean, that kind of network is something that many people will never achieve in their real estate business. And what's amazing is you've done a big part of that, and you've kind of become known as this person when it comes to REOs and
mm-hmm.
forbearance. I mean, you're like the go-to. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I mentioned this before. I've been in the industry a number of years, and in my experience, when it comes to short sales and pre-foreclosures, people either love them or they hate them. Is that your same experience?
It is. And, what I would tell you is I am very much process oriented. There's a book called Rocket Fuel, and I am the visionary. However, being the integrator is something I have always done, where you have systems and processes to follow. I have a great operations manager now that helps with the integration part. However, doing so many REOs, I did short sales when they weren't cool. My prior company, I created a short sale department for the company. When short sales took 6 months to a year, we're closing short sales in 2 weeks because they have now, they leverage the same systems and processes that the REOs do. And they have processes and they have databases that they follow. So I very much like to be able to analyze data, have a workflow, and to be able to help others. Now, short sales are very much like REOs. You have someone that lives in the home. You have to have a servant's heart that you're there to help them. And a lot of people, they don't look at it that way. And right now, with millions of homeowners going through forbearance, millions of renters that the eviction is going, the CDC eviction hold is going to expire the first of the year. There are people that need our help. So during the REO business, I got involved with local nonprofits, homeless, knowing that there are nonprofits that help with down payment assistance or help with utilities. We need to be an advocate for our community. And that's why, to me, short sales are very much the same as REO. Everyone, they always reach out to me and they think REO is easy. I just get given these houses. losses. That's not the case. So the way I share is, if you want to be in the REO business, you need to master the pre-foreclosure business, because those loss mitigators that negotiate the short sales are your first step to get in with the REO business. All you have to do is make a relationship with them and say, how can I grow my relationship with your bank in a bigger way? I get direct short sales from some of the biggest banks in the country because I've done so many with them. People call them and they say, what's my options? They say, call my agent network. You can still interview a local one. However, these are the agents I recommend. So you've got to put in the work, and a lot of people don't want to put in the work. I share a story a lot. When I got into REO, there was a company called EMC Mortgage. EMC Mortgage was a subprime division that Chase ended up being part of. They used to require BPO agent A and B. A would get the listing, B would do it for free. And if there was ever a point where B's was better, you may get a listing. I did hundreds for free until I did one so great that it recognized to the right person, and then I got hundreds of listings from that entity. However, most agents, they won't do that work. They won't put in the work, and they won't do things for free to create a relationship. It's just like prospecting. You get up every day and you can call for 2 hours a day for 30 days and not get anyone. But you know what? Those nurtures, it could be 6 months from now, they pay off. So it just it's consistency. And that's something I've always done.
Well, and I love the way that you relate it to prospecting, right? Because everybody, on some level in their business, they go, I know that I have to prospect, right? The method might differ from agent to agent, but everybody knows that this act of proactively going out there and finding business. And what you're saying is, look, the relationship with the bank is a form of prospecting. I mean, you had to do hundreds of transactions for free, and you compare that to making phone calls that don't turn into anything. But once it clicks, it really paid off for you. Is that, did I understand that correctly?
Absolutely. And like your system on the expireds, you know how many banks they'll expire out on that data is there. I've actually called in asset managers I've known. They're like, can you please make your property back active because the listing expired because they didn't send a listing? They're like, my phone's ringing off the hook. Your system has info and normally the phone number that's on the expired for the corporate owned properties is the CEO of the company. So when I personally prospect for builders, large entities, hedge funds, larger companies, but all that information's public record. So you just have to create the consistency and know what you're talking about. So that's why I created the course that I have, is because, you literally have to learn the fundamentals. But right now there's millions of people that need our help. And there's so many different speculations on, is it 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 that are in forbearance? And a lot of that's not going to be public for a few months. But if you just become your neighborhood expert and share with everyone that you know what you're doing and you can help them with solutions, and understand, yes, everything may not be a short sale. However, when a notice of default is public, if they haven't paid their mortgage since March and maybe December it becomes public, all those payments get added to what they owe on the property. So that eats up the equity. And everyone's talking about it's not going to be like 2008 because they have equity. Well, when you don't pay your mortgage for a year, what do you think happens? It eats up your equity. So that's where people just have to become educated and just help their community. And that's what I'm passionate about.
Now, you mentioned a little bit ago that right now you're closing short sale transactions in a matter of weeks.
Yeah.
What does that process look like? Because I think right now, right, we've experienced amazing markets and incredibly growing markets for the past several years, and so short sales are like, unless you're a pro, short sales are the last thing on agents' minds. Yep. So I think that there's probably some listeners going, I'm sorry, what? Short sales in 2 weeks? So So tell me more about what that process looks like for you right now, because I mean, it's incredible. Most people look at short sales and go, I thought that was a year-long process.
No, they're short sales. Everyone used to tease they should be called long sales. So first and foremost, what you need, and this is the same thing with REO, you've got to be able to follow instructions and direction. So first and foremost, you need a seller that is willing to do their part. If you have to chase a seller to fill out a short sale package, you need to probably tell that seller good luck. Because if the seller is unwilling to do the things necessary to help impact their credit and get the house sold, it is not going to go quickly. So if you have a seller that's willing to fill out a few pages, sign an affidavit, that's first and foremost important. Most short sales, you can have that conversation with the seller if you know what you're talking about and just say, you know what, Mr. Seller, do you know that it's not going to cost you anything out of pocket? You do have negative equity. The great thing right now is the bank could potentially offer you cash for keys, several $1,000s to move out of your home, take everything out of your home, and you can potentially get a check for handing over the keys and signing the closing paperwork. Because right now, the bank does not want the property back. I can send you a listing agreement in a few minutes with all the instructions. What's your email?
That was your script right there. I mean, that was short and simple. Now, here's my question: is how often you sent number one, right? It's got to be a motivated seller. How often do you get on the phone with these people and they don't really understand what their options are? Would you say that that's most of the people that are in this situation?
Yeah, so that is, I use a divorce scenario. When a divorce is filed and you get served divorce papers, your emotion level is a lot different from the time the divorce is final. You're
Right.
going through an emotion level. So a lot of times your system, as soon as that notice of default is filed, if you're calling daily, you're going to call them before they even know or they're even served notice of default. So your first touch needs to be, I have a buyer looking to buy a home in your neighborhood. If you were offered the right price, would you be willing to sell? That's the first touch. And guess what? You should have a buyer, whether it's your office just sold one or you find a cash buyer. Finding a cash buyer is not hard. You go to the MLS, you look at cash sales, you look at tax records, and you send them a letter saying, can I help you find properties to buy? It's not hard. So I'm passionate on teaching those steps. However, you have a first touch and then you follow up with them again. We have a lot of success on yellow letters, which is just a simple letter that goes out to the seller that's in form of a letter that gets sent to them. And, just letting them know what their options are. However, you got to understand what the options are. So that's where you, one of the easiest websites to navigate is Flagstar. You can go there and on the top it says coronavirus options and then mortgage relief. And you can click on, they have like exactly what the CARES Act is, stimulus package. Most banks all have right now due to the coronavirus, the big banks, they have at the top, find out what your options are. Now, the great thing is, well, it's not the great thing, due to forbearance, a lot of the asset managers that manage the bank, the REO side, got realigned to the forbearance, which is called the loss mitigation department. Those are the people that do forbearance. Most of them are the people that do short sales. So a forbearance package, when you need an extension on your forbearance package, it's similar to what a short sale package is.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
most banks, it's almost the same exact package. So if a seller has maybe done a forbearance, because right now our job should be to get the home sold prior to their forbearance payment or their agreement defaulting, because it'll allow them to save their credit and potentially do a lease back to whoever currently buys it. If say there's enough equity, and allow someone to come in and buy their home, do it like a 60-day lease back to give them time to go buy another home, because you can't get a mortgage when you're not current on your forbearance payments or you're in forbearance without current. So it really is a transition on understanding the steps, but knowing your options is a lot about us being educated. It's not hard. You can go to one of the banks. I do a really great guide, but it's your options right now is to potentially extend your forbearance, do a loan modification, potentially refinance the home if you're not behind in your mortgage. I can sell the home, and this is what I can get for the home. If you're getting ready to lose the property, if like there's a foreclosure sale date, I can do my best to find a cash buyer. We can list it on the market, and due to the market being so hot, I can sell your home and sell it quickly and safely. So depending on COVID and what it is, you have to know how to safe sell and things to that nature. So knowing your options and having, when I talk to somebody, they don't question that I don't know the options. And then you need to follow up with them. Now, I call it keep it simple, stupid. You can easily read these options. Like your system allows you to add scripts on top of the lead.
Correct.
So you can literally read the options, put together a nice sheet and send it to the seller, but then you got to follow up. And that's what us as agents, we normally drop the ball on. So that's where you got to nurture them and probably send something in the mail. Send out cards is beautiful. People love them. Or I love just handwritten cards, and just being there to help them and being an advocate. Because when you help someone that is in distress or a short sale, someone that's behind on their mortgage, maybe a little bit embarrassed, and it's a great experience with them, they're going to tell everybody.
Very true.
So
now,
anyway, sorry.
No. This is fantastic information, and I'm taking notes here, and I'm sure that all of our listeners are taking notes. Help me. Let's assume that short sales is not a part of my real estate business, but I want it to be. Walk me through maybe some of the most important things, and you've mentioned a few, right? One of these things I wrote down here is you really have to be the expert, but you made that as simple as, look, you just write it down and read it to somebody if that's what their options are. But what are the other important things that an agent might need to know in order to get started into this portion of the business that, like I said, many people just kind of stay away from and have for the last decade?
Well, if you have a mortgage on your home, you should call the bank. It's very interesting when you call them and ask what your options are, and really talk. And I actually did that for my own mother-in-law, who is almost 80, when forbearance happened, and they were ready to give her a forbearance for a good 6 months and with just a verbal yes. So talking to your own bank about options is very educational. However, the first step is you need to call the bank. When you're working, people get caught up in overwhelming, and it just needs to be added to your process. A short sale is just like a normal listing with an addendum and different verbiage on the MLS. As soon as you get the listing, you call the bank that is on the mortgage. You don't even have to have the authorization yet, and just say, I have a client I just signed a listing agreement for that would like to do a short sale. Can you point me in the right direction? Most of them are going to email you, or they're going to send you to a website that has a step-by-step package. That package needs to be filled out depending on the bank's criteria. There's normally an authorization letter that it needs to be filled out. I also recommend you to ask your title company or your attorney's office if they process short sales. Mine does. I use the title company I do for over 10 years because I don't have to do the short sales anymore. It doesn't cost me anything. They have someone on staff. In the heyday, there were third-party short sale negotiators. I highly recommend. If you're going to do a lot of them, you can create massive departments for your own office with an admin. It's like a transaction coordinator. You have timelines, you have to follow a task. But when you call the bank that is for the mortgage for your client and just ask them what their process is, it's just like an REO. REOs, all the processes are different. They give you, here's the process. You can have 20 banks all with different processes. That's the same thing with a short sale. You follow their process, you submit the package, you copy the multiple listing, which is going to need to be required. Let the short sale get processed in the system. Then they're going to need a closing statement and a contract. So I always say, never wait to register the short sale. If the client wants a short sale, you get them to work on the package. A lot of times they're going to need tax records. If they don't have taxes, like, because a lot of people behind, they haven't done their taxes, you just let the bank know. They're very much not wanting to take properties back and work on solutions. So if you have a seller that's willing to make the phone calls and willing to do a few pieces of paper, it's not a hard process, but you got to be task oriented. Or find someone that will and share it with them. I used to do a lot of short sales in the heyday with agents that didn't want to do it, and I did it all, and we just shared in the transaction.
Well, and earlier you said, look, you've got to be able to follow instructions, and
Mhm.
that bit of advice is now it making far more sense to me, right? It's because you're saying, look, everybody has their own process, every bank, every lender. However, they're either going to email you or send you to a website that says, here are the steps, right? One through however many there are. And all you have to do is execute on each of those.
And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. They can also join my course and I'll teach them how to do it and give them all the forms and the process. Sorry. But we do cover short sales, prospecting for it and things like that. So it is a process. You have, it's not rocket science, but you do need to be process oriented or learn how to be, or find the missing person and make sure that they can help you with that. Because I'll tell you right now, it's not just being a listing agent for a short sale. In this next wave of uncertainty, you're going to represent a buyer on a short sale, and you're going to need to know the questions to ask. You're going to need to know to call the listing agent and want to know, was the package submitted? Has a BPO been done? Or have any offers been turned down? So there are processes, but when you learn it on the list side, it's going to make you represent your buyers better as well.
So this is amazing information, and I think we could go for hours and hours, right? And I think if anybody is interested in figuring out exactly what the process is like you said, you have a course. There's other resources that are out there, but let me ask some questions about even getting to that point, right? You'd mentioned that you're a big user of REDX. You use our pre-foreclosure leads. You use our for rent by owner leads. How are you taking the REDX leads that we're providing to you and turning those into listings? What is the process you're going through? Because we focused a lot on once you have that, then what? And so I want to know what's that process like in getting to the point where you're having the conversation and taking listings, or at least getting people who are interested saying, well, what are my options?
So a really hot point that people don't even look at, first and foremost, you need to follow the do not call. That is extremely important. Now your system indicates who the do not call is. Mm-hmm. Now people don't call them, and they don't even go to their house. If you just focused on going and sending mailers or door hangers to the people on the do not call, that would greatly affect your business because no one else does. So a simple door hanger, a yellow letter, and a phone call. It really, truly, if you're focusing on a farm in a certain area, hitting them in more than one way. So you have to look at, when you're calling people, you've got to be the first or the last, because they get home from work, they got 50 messages. So that's where I've got a runner that has door hangers that go on the door. So we have a phone call, a door hanger, and then follow up by a letter. So being consistent and hitting them in different ways is really important. And I will tell you, nobody ever has anything on the door. So
that's a fantastic bit of advice, right? I mean, we're all looking at ways to get in front of people, and if nobody's hanging door hangers, then why not?
If you call for 2 hours and you only get 3 people, picture how many people you can go to their door. Or just pulling through your system the old expireds that haven't been relisted, or the notice of defaults that have closer sale dates. You can it literally, we have, hold on, it's like a dorky house. I don't know if you could see, but it's
right there.
It's just it's nothing crazy. So, but that's the consistency. That's what I would say. We nurture them. I do have 4 ISAs, and our team is lead generating, and, it's all in the follow-up, and it's in the consistency. And every day we're calling everybody and doing the same system every day. not not lead generating once a week or calling 10 people and saying it doesn't work. You've got to commit. And if it's, I'm calling 10 expireds, 10 for, for the, I always screwed up, for sale by renters, geo leads, pre-foreclosures, and you're doing that each day, you just have to be consistent in hitting the new ones each and every day.
So you've got a team, and it sounds like you understand. Look, there has to be consistency. It's not when you have time to get out and prospect, right? This is a proactive part of your business, so much so that you've got specialized members of your team that's what they're doing all the time.
Yes.
What about somebody who doesn't have all of that? What about somebody who's just the lone agent and they're running things? How important is dedicating that time to prospecting, generating that business?
So one of my mentors, Gary Keller, said that during the shift, we were supposed to double our prospecting. So before, we were told 2 hours of prospecting. So your morning routine is the most important thing for a single agent. So you're in an area that you prospect and you focus on leads, and your phone is not distracting you. You are doing nothing but calling for a certain amount of time. And if calling isn't your jive for a single agent, use the data. And even you can print flyers, from your office and make sure don't put it in the mailbox, because without a stamp and sending it through the post office is not allowed. But you can go and put something on the door or a simple door hanger. You, as a new agent, all it is consistency. It really is, and nurturing your pipeline and the conversations that you have. Read the scripts. The more you read and internalize the scripts, the better it's going to get. So, you've got to have time for lead generating, lead follow-up, working on your business, working in your business, but you can do all of that in less than 5 hours a day. Most of the agents, they forget that part on actually learning their craft though. So, I have an hour of walking that I do. So I'm listening to a podcast. So something on a skill set and something on me. So, it's self-improvement and then skill sets. So, that's something they have to do. And if they're not getting the scripts and doesn't feel natural, find a role play partner, write out the script. I'm very auditory, so I speak it and then I listen to it. So you got to find out what works. But if you just commit, our company has this thing called 66-day challenge. If you've read the one thing, if you just commit to doing the same thing every day for 66 days, you're going to see success. Where us as single agents, you lose focus is it's like the squirrel mentality. It's,
right.
I'm lead generating for 30 minutes. Oh, a buyer wants to go see a home. That buyer can wait till 2 or 4 o'clock. Whatever your schedule looks like.
Yeah, I think the biggest fault there, because some people will argue and they'll say, yeah, but going with that buyer is a money-making activity, right? But the truth is you never build real momentum, right? I mean, I know for me, getting on the phones, it's usually like 30 minutes before you really get in the groove anyway, before you get to the mindset that you really need to be in. And so you're preaching, you're speaking my language, right? Is this morning routine is so crucial.
Well, and I always recommend that when you're getting ready to prospect, call people that you know already. Warm it up, call some friends, a past client, vendors. Those are easy. You could call your mortgage person, just check in. Warm up with your phone calls. So,
yeah, and I've heard that advice often, and it's so smart. I talked to an agent one time. They said, I call my mom every morning, and I ask her if she wants to sell her home, right? And she knows what I'm doing, so she never takes offense, and I don't take offense when she says no. But I know that's going to be a positive conversation. I get in the mindset, and then I move on to the next one, right? And it is fantastic advice. I think that far too often the proactive effort of improving our skills it gets set by the wayside, right? Too often we don't spend time to actively focus on our skills, and it shows.
I agree. And, the big thing too is, there are many types of agents and many types of clients. You've got to figure out what works for you. I know agents that crush door knocking. Right now during COVID, obviously they door knock and step back 6 feet. I know agents that love social media and videos or sending handwritten letters. Really, you can be scared to death to pick up the phone. However, if you send out 100 letters a week and they call you, it's a different story. Or you take the data and that is on your system and you put it into custom audiences on Facebook. There's more than one way. And depending on who you are, your finances, obviously picking up the phone or going door to door with a simple letter or a door hanger is the most inexpensive for a single agent. You can grow into all the fancy stuff, but the agents have to understand, a high D and a high I is going to lead generate different than a high D and a high C. So, that's where you have to really figure out what works for you. Getting a coach is to me the most important thing. And having a coach or being part of a mentor group or a productivity coaching group in your office, something that you're learning and someone is holding you accountable is also going to help.
Well, and early on, you mentioned as you're sharing your story, you said that you were recommended this coaching program, so you went to the event, and then you followed that up by saying you have to surround yourself with people who think bigger, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we sometimes our large egos like us to be the smartest person in the room, but then you never progress. Mm-hmm. And I think that you've exemplified that in the things that you said, right? Look, I try to surround myself with people that think bigger than I do, which is fantastic advice.
And you know what? It's COVID. So sometimes that may be a little difficult, but you know what? One of my mentors, someone asked him, who do you learn from? Because, you look at someone of his caliber on, who's going to coach him? And he learns from books and podcasts. So, it doesn't matter the situation or the finances. There's so many brilliant podcasts out there you can learn from, but I definitely recommend surrounding yourself with people that you want to be, and think 3 to 5 years from now. And if your business plan isn't done right now, you need to work on that, because guess what we're lead generating for today is what we're going to see next year.
I totally agree. Christina, this has been fantastic. We're bumping up to the time here that we have allotted, but this has been amazing. It's fantastic to hear your story and how you've become such an expert in what it is that you've focused on, and it really shows, right? It shows that the amount of effort that you've put in over the years, in spite of adversity and trials and that sort of thing, that you've really come to be great at what you do and love what you do. And it shows in the way that you talk about it. And so I'm excited for people to become more familiar with you as you've been on our podcast, and we're grateful for the time you've spent to be with us. Let me just remind all of you who are listening, we do this podcast on a regular basis. We've adjusted the schedule ever so slightly here, but make sure that you're subscribed to get the updates for this podcast. We interview great people like Christina every single week. And so if you're not subscribed and you want to get subscribed, make sure to go to our website, theredx.com. Click on the podcast link in the banner up there at the top, the navigation bar, and you'll be able to subscribe to get all the updates for our podcast, both previous and upcoming. Christina, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We are grateful. If you'll hang out with me, we'll discuss a few things post-show. But guys and gals, thank you for everything. Have a fantastic remainder of your week. Happy Halloween as it's coming up on Saturday, and have a fantastic November, December, and a phenomenal 2021.